Well, hey everybody, John Rethlin here, and this is Hashtag Ask for Honesty, episode 17. Thank you guys for the great questions on this episode and in previous episodes, loving the solo content that I do, or content myself and the Durbinator do, or a combination of all of it, and just the support of the channel in general, and taking time out of your day. It really means a lot. I try to do that before every single one of these Hashtag Ask for Honesty videos, especially because without you guys sending in your great questions, this series wouldn't exist, because it's a fellow wrestling fan, me, answering all our fellow wrestling fans' questions, and also music and movie related questions. Let's try to keep politics out of it. Even though I don't mind people asking about it, just stick to my Twitter and check that out and everything if you want to get my opinions on anything political. I want to try to make this more entertaining but also rant filled, because you know I love me some angry rants, and you tend to love my angry rants. But angry rants aside, if you want to send in questions, 3 to 4 questions maximum in the comments, and I will answer them in the next episode. Same with Twitter DM. If you can DM me on there, just send your 3 to 4 questions there, or check the pin tweets I put up Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning. Use the hashtag Ask for Honesty, wrestling, music, or movie related questions, and send them below that thread, and I will make sure to include them as, and answer them as detailed as possible. So with a lot of questions here, let's get right into it. Noah is Safe says, I know she's far from your favorite, but out of respect for her retirement, and this is his question, what are your top 3 or just top 1 Nikki Bella matches? Yes, I'm not a fan of Nikki Bella or really the Bellas in general. I have my reasons, but I'm going to put those off to the side. No, I never really thought much of Nikki Bella, but if I'm putting bias to the side, and, I'm talking about wrestling character, one, I do want to say, hopefully the cyst on her brain she apparently has, I mean, that's what she said in an interview, and another herniated disc she has, hopefully all medical issues can be addressed. She can live a long, full life, and hopefully she is going to be okay. Wrestling is no joke, and hopefully she's going to be okay. Now, focusing on the matches, I will concede that her feuds with Carmella and Natty were pretty good in ring wise. And I mean, storyline wise, it was what it was. Storylines have never exactly been WWE's strong suit, especially for the women. They've been very hit and miss. But the women did what they could and did the best they could with it. And since they were away from the title, it was nice little undercard feuds. And the matches delivered for what they were. And actually, I'd say over delivered in some cases. So I will say that those feuds stick out in my mind. And fondly remembered. I mean, I think it's all subjective or whatever, but they were pretty good for what they were. And then her series of matches with Charlotte, even though I didn't like the overbooking that led to Nikki just holding on to the title long enough after the Raw before Night of Champions until we got to, Night of Champions where Charlotte eventually beat her. I didn't necessarily like how they booked that, but the match quality was fine for what it was. Hell in a Cell match, it is what it is. And then, of course, you have the match she had with Ronda Rousey at Evolution. I still say Becky versus Charlotte should have main evented, but that's not fault against Ronda or Nikki. But the match was good for what it was, even though you had the Twin Magic stuff. So I'll throw those out there. It's not necessarily in any particular order, but again, best wishes to Nikki Bella, and hopefully she can live a long, full life, get these medical issues addressed, and everything will be okay. And then we go to 2 questions from Critical Sting on YouTube. Really like how you've been sending these questions in, so thank you. Keep on saying in good ones, and same with every single one of you guys or girls. Question number 1: bigger missed opportunity, Lethal in TNA or Barrett in WWE? Barrett in WWE. Lethal would have been maybe a world title contender here and there, but he needed to leave to actually be able to shine more. Even though the Randy Savage stuff was actually pretty goddamn good, I really did enjoy that. He was always going to be an X Division guy, or just a mid-card guy outside the X Division anyway, just because of the direction the Impact was going. Now, it's a shame because I think he could have been a good world champion, but he's just below Wade Barrett, because Wade Barrett, they had a couple opportunities to make him WWE champion, and whether it would have worked out or not, who the fuck knows? I don't think Barrett would have made a great WWE champion, but I will say is a bigger missed opportunity because he had the look, the size, and the promo ability to make it work, and he would have been a British-born heavyweight champion in WWE. That would have been a pretty fucking big deal. And the fact they didn't go that route was pretty fucking ridiculous. And especially, the whole thing of, I don't like to use the word burial, but he was buried by John Cena. And don't tell me that he wasn't. He was literally buried under a pile of chairs. And then the new Nexus and the core and all that, and it didn't work. And then even though they could have rebranded him, yes, injuries and that kind of stuff happened, and I'm not trying to take that away, but he should have been bigger than he was. And whether that comes down to a combination of him not being, him not being motivated, or who knows, or the company just not seeing much in him because he kept getting injured. Who the fuck knows, really? For a time, he should have been WWE champion. Again, whether it would have worked out or not, who the fuck knows? But I'll say Wade. And then question number 2: if you could reboot a classic faction like Impact has done with LAX, what kind of what faction and which wrestlers would you pick? It would be a variation of either Team Angle or Evolution. But I would put Chad Gable in the player coach role. Now, Chad Gable can still go in the ring. He is by no means done. I thought of doing another Evolution with Triple H in the Flair role, but I'm like, no, I don't think that would necessarily work. Chad Gable assembling a roster of guys that have been underutilized. Apollo Crews would be an obvious one because I've been having Chad Gable occasionally taking notes and this kind of stuff, and now he's on 205 Live and doing some great things. What little bit I've been able to see. I've been able to keep up on a ton of 205 Live, but Chad Gable can really go in the ring. So keep Chad Gable as a player coach like thing. He's the guy getting all these young, hungry guys together. Apollo Crews, Buddy Murphy. Those are 2 right there. Woman, Dana Brooke. Now, I'm not the biggest Dana Brooke fan, but I think that it's now or never with her, and if you want to give her a chance, have her be there. And you can throw in some other guys. I would almost say the Revival, but the Revival are on their way out. Heavy Machinery, and give Heavy Machinery a bit more of an edge as far as being like a serious threat. And not necessarily being like, like the goofy comedy guys that they are, even though they do comedy pretty goddamn well. I think you could make a faction out of that, and you could have a rotating cast afterwards. You could throw Ali in there. It could be a giant stable, and it could be Gable's guys or whatever, which actually would be wrong because Dana Brooke would be in there. Gable's group or something. I don't know what the fuck you would call them. But I would throw in people like that. And if you want to take Heavy Machinery out, throw Ali in there, and then have Ali be the breakout babyface out of the group and everything. And maybe you could even throw Cedric in there, and you could have Cedric go heel. EC3, others. You could do some really, really good things with this, but 2 people that would have to be in there would be Apollo and Buddy Murphy, just because nothing's being done with them at all. I mean, Apollo, sure, okay, you may argue that his promos maybe aren't all that good, but his in-ring ability is absolutely great. Buddy Murphy, same thing. I mean, his promos are decent, but he could absolutely be incredible. So I do a variation of that, and I'd have Gable be the player coach like character. At least that's something I would do. I don't know what kind of faction that would be based on, but there you go. And then Bio Burrow from YouTube, first time commenter, I believe, if I recall correctly. And they start off with, "Hi there, love your wrestling videos. You deserve more subscribers." Firstly, thank you. I really do appreciate that. Means a lot. And the fact that anybody, any new subscribers or anybody that watches the content and loves what is said, thank you. And hopefully, if we can get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, we'll do a lengthy game stream of, I don't know, myself and Durbinator might play like some, Super Mario Maker 2 and just play a whole bunch of stuff and just have a whole bunch of fun. You can watch me rage over being really bad at video games. I've been great at JRPGs. I've never been great at video games though. But anyway, thank you very much for the praise. I really do appreciate it. But your 4 questions. Firstly, looking at AEW, who in your opinion should be crowned the first AEW World Champion? Y2J or Hangman Page? Y2J, Hangman Page, kind of slash because they're facing off for the title. Or someone else like Moxley or CM Punk if he decided to return. I'm glad you put that at the end. If Punk decided to return, him being world champion wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but it would also be based solely on how they want to build him and how long he wants to be there. If he doesn't return at All Out, which is in Chicago, I don't think he's ever going to return to a mainstream wrestling promotion, even briefly, because he's near 40. I think he's actually going to be 40 here in October. So it depends on his drive. It depends on his passion. I don't think he'll be made world champion. He may not want to be world champion. Just have a few feuds and then leave. Which is entirely possible. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it would depend on his commitment. Moxley, he is the current IWGP US champion, and it depends just totally on what they want to have him do right now. I think him being world champion is a few months off. And it would be very interesting to see him as world champion, but it's going to take some time. As for Y2J and Hangman, as much as I love Hangman, Y2J, Chris Jericho, obviously, the bigger star, the more mainstream star, even though I think Chris Jericho is basically wiped out at this point. Pardon me. Allergies and all that. I think Y2J would be the right choice to be champion, only because as far as drawing eyeballs in, he would be the right choice. Now, Hangman could be better in chase mode. Hangman could win it eventually, or Omega could win. Hangman could snap go heel. Hangman could beat up Omega and win the world title from him down the road. And since they have enough stars to where they can make this work. I think Hangman being in chase mode and maybe eventually beating Chris Jericho. There's a number of different routes they can go, but Jericho would be my choice just based on star power alone. Whether I feel he can still fully go in the ring or not, my opinion. Like that match with Okada at Dominion really was not all that good. Wasn't bad, but Jericho was gassed clearly. Jericho would be the right choice. Mainstream, heel, and give babyfaces chase mode a chance to, face off against him, and him to build some feuds and eventually drop it to somebody. I also don't think that Jericho is going to fulfill that 3-year deal that he has with AEW, at least in the ring. 2 years, maybe, and then he's done because he's almost 50. And he's slowing down. Father Time's undefeated, but that's another story for another day. Second question. What's your favorite horror movie set in a wintry environment? The Thing, 1982 or 2011 prequel. 30 Days a Night, Let the Right One In, The Shining, or something else. I want to say that this is actually probably one of the best questions I've got. It may not be super detailed, but this is probably one of the best questions I got movie related in a while. Not just what's your favorite movies, this kind of stuff. And even though I got one of those later and I don't mind answering it, this is a unique twist on it. So I really do appreciate that. So really, thank you very much for that. The Thing was a very nice wintry, 1982 version. Was actually pretty damn cool. The prequel, I didn't like the prequel very much. I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think she's beautiful. I think she's funny. I think she's talented. But I didn't really care for that movie. The Thing 1982 I enjoyed. I still feel it's a little bit overhyped. And I'm a horror movie fan in my opinion. But I totally get why people like it. The Thing is pretty up there though as far as wintry setting. For just focusing on the wintry setting. I would say 30 Days a Night is pretty underappreciated because the whole thing about, the town being in total darkness and everything, that was pretty goddamn cool. And there were some good moments to it. And you had Josh Barnett, who's a freaking, a plank of wood. The guy from Pearl Harbor. I always screw up Barnett and Barnett, so forgive me. But 30 Days a Night was pretty cool, made good use of his wintry setting. Let the Right One In, and even Let Me In. Let the Right One In particular did better with the wintry setting. Foreign movies usually do. The Shining would probably be it. I would almost say 30 Days a Night. Yes, The Thing does, but 30 Days a Night. I'll throw that one in as far as using the wintry setting and everything. I thought that was pretty damn cool. And then The Thing right below it, and then The Thing prequel, no. The Shining right below that, because even though, yes, The Shining made good use of its wintry setting, it wasn't always outside all that stuff and everything. The maze part was pretty cool, so that's how I'll answer that. But that was a very good question, so I really do appreciate that. And then question number 3, looking back at Undertaker's early streak matches, how would you rate his matches versus Mask Kane, WrestleMania 14, versus Diesel, WrestleMania 12, and versus Giant Gonzalez, WrestleMania 9, factoring in match quality, build-up, and look of the challengers? Obviously, the Giant Gonzalez one would be down on the bottom. I hate to speak ill of the dead. Giant Gonzalez, I know, had passed away a number of years ago. I'm sure he was a nice guy. He was not cut out for the wrestling business. The build of, from the Royal Rumble all the way to WrestleMania was just lousy. Because nobody believed for a second that this guy was going to put a dent in The Undertaker. And it was just silly. And Undertaker tried everything he could to get a match out of the guy, and it just wasn't very good. It wasn't a very good build. They really badly used Undertaker in the first number of years. Having him face monsters and that kind of stuff, and it didn't work well. I did a video, by the way, about the Undertaker's horribly damaged legacy, or Undertaker's damaged legacy. And I don't think I can put a link up here, but just check out my rants and you'll be able to see, rant, unpopular wrestling opinion. One of the two. I really did enjoy doing that one. But anyway, Giant Gonzalez one would be ranked at the bottom. Diesel, I will put number 2. I like how they built it from the Royal Rumble. Diesel screwing over Undertaker in the match, and then them having the whole thing where Taker pulls Diesel down underneath the ring. And then they had their match at WrestleMania 12, a pretty underappreciated match in Undertaker's career, but also just big man versus big man. They told a pretty good story there. Obviously, based on, just these three matches, Kane, the one with Kane would have to be it because you had the whole build up. Taker wouldn't fight his brother, wouldn't fight his brother, wouldn't fight his brother. And then Kane and Paul Bearer set the casket on fire at Royal Rumble 98. And then you build it up where the casket explodes. It's set up, the casket explodes, and Undertaker walks out and starts yelling, I will walk through the pits of hell, or the fires of hell, to face you, Kane. And the match was pretty good for what it was. Now, the match wasn't great, but it was a pretty good match. And especially considering Undertaker had to do everything he could to keep his brother down. And they still continued the feud, and the feud still had some momentum to it. So I'll say Mask Kane number 1, Diesel number 2, Giant Gonzalez number 3. I would rank almost anything below or anything above Giant Gonzalez. At least as far as earlier matches, it was fucking rotten. I mean, it just was. And nothing against Giant Gonzalez. Again, R.I.P. to the man, but he was not cut out for wrestling. And this fourth question, looking back at the Dragon Ball Z movies, out of Garlic Jr., Cooler, Bio Broly, and Turles, at least Turles, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. Who, in your opinion, is more interesting, well-written, more intriguing, and the more intriguing looking villain? I appreciate you asking this question, but I'm not the biggest Dragon Ball Z fan, mainly because I never got into it. I like Dragon Ball Z abridged. But based on what little I know, I will say Cooler, but I'm not really able to answer this question fully detailed, so I'm sorry, I'm not skipping over it, but I'm not able to answer it as well as maybe you would like. Maybe if I can find some time at some point, I could hit the lottery and just stay at home for a number of months, I could catch up on Dragon Ball Z and do that, but based on what little bit I know, I'll say Cooler. I would say my favorite villains, though, and I mean, I know it's not these guys. Frieza, Cell, or Perfect Cell, that kind of stuff. Those kind of guys. Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about Dragon Ball Z to really give a detailed answer on this, so I apologize. But thank you for sending in your questions. Please feel free to send in more, because I'm glad you asked me about Dragon Ball Z. I just don't know enough about it. But I really did like these questions. I like these questions so far. Now, Farron's 53. God, huge pop for this one. This is a long question, but there's a long one, but this just set up a question. A writer recently threw out the idea of using the round system, similar to MMA in WWE, that is. Similar to MMA, the Impact Grand Championship, or the AWF matches from the early 90s. And I barely recall AWF, but he says, my question is, why is this writer still employed? I'm going to say this round system, it's like the Brawl for All stuff and, the mixed fighting, all that bullshit. None of that round stuff works in wrestling. Now, having 2 out of 3 falls matches, having 15-minute time limits, that kind of stuff, that works. But round systems work for boxing. They don't work for wrestling. It just does not work at all. If they wanted to have, say, a 2 out of 3 falls match, it was 45 minutes and each fall went to almost 15 minutes, you could say that's similar to rounds. Well, no, it's not, because they have to fight to the end and then determine based on judges. Now, yes, they did time limit draws back in the day, and I even watched some NWA pay-per-views that had that. That was one thing, having judges do that based on a time limit draw, but it wasn't based on rounds. I just don't like the idea. And why is the writer still employed? I don't know. It's such good shit, would be my guess. Vince is pretty much an idiot. If this is what somebody suggested, and I mean, I don't even know if this is a writer for WWE. I'm not actually sure who you're talking about. But if it is a WWE writer, or if it's just a writer in general that suggested this as a way to help WWE, it's a bad idea. No, that person should not be allowed to talk about wrestling again. I don't mind new ideas. I just don't like bad ideas. And a round system would be a bad idea. The Grand Championship for Impact was a terrible idea. It just was. New championships, not a bad thing. But yeah, they just didn't, they didn't make it very good. And no, I don't know why the writer's still employed. It's a pretty fucking bad thing. And Unforgiven Ronan asking a couple questions here. Gonna get a Switch? Probably not. Derb has a Switch. I don't really even have time to play my Wii U. I just don't have time. I don't really have a reason to get it. Maybe when Nintendo comes out with their next system in a number of years, maybe I will. But right now, no. I have no reason to. I don't have enough time to game. I have no time to shoot some videos here and there, but it's like I take some more relaxing time. And since I don't have enough time and money to invest in the games, I don't see the point. I'm a gamer, but more of an old school gamer. And number 2, favorite wrestling book. I like Jericho's books. I like Bret Hart's, lengthy book. I didn't mind Controversy Creates Cash from Eric Bishop, but Rise and Fall of, or The Death of WCW would probably be it. I was able to at one point, because I had a friend that had Gary Hart's book, and I was able to read excerpts of that. I wish I could have read the whole thing. Gary Hart's a pretty fascinating human being. That's one that I probably would have ranked pretty high if I could have read the whole thing. But The Death of WCW would probably be it, because it was a goddamn good book and detailed all the fucking shit that went down. So I would say that one. There's plenty of other wrestling books and stuff like that. I mean, Bret Hart's would obviously be on there. It's a shame that there aren't more wrestling books that I've been able to read. And Foley's books actually have been pretty good too. Have a Nice Day and a few of the others that he's done since then. So yeah, there's a lot, but Death of WCW would be the one that leaps out in my mind. And at Jeremy8911, how long before WWE debuts the 2 out of 3 Falls Championship? Huge pop for this one also. I don't fucking know why they're doing the 2 out of 3 Falls thing. Well, I do know, because they don't want matches going on during the commercials. Here's the problem. SmackDown had, they had the little window here and a little window here. So they had the commercials, and then they had the matches going on. So the matches are going on during commercials anyway. The 2 out of 3 Falls thing is a way to go around, because Vince thinks the problem is there are matches going on during the commercials. That's not the issue, Vince. The issue is that you're bad at your job and that you aren't any good anymore. And he's not. Like, take a look at what happened with Stomping Grounds. And, there were 3 shows within, a certain radius of each other. There were 2 shows in Washington. Tacoma Dome, which even if you factor in the staging and the fact they may block some stuff off for obstructive view, there's 23,000 seats. So let's say take 3,000 seats out of there. 3,000, 4,000 maybe. So you got 19,000 seats left. And they barely they barely had 7,000 people there. Now, they had a loud crowd. The crowd really made the most of it, but boy, any shots that they had an entire curtain cutting off the Tacoma Dome. I've been to the Tacoma Dome. I went and saw a concert there, and it was back in 2003, I think. It's been a while, but there would have been a time where WWE would have had no problem selling that out. Now, they're going to have to start running stuff like in Everett or in Seattle, or they're going to have to just stay out of certain states altogether. Now, we love our wrestling here, but WWE has shit the bed on, and not even the talents, not even knocking the talents, but a lot of what WWE's been doing is just been shitting on the fans over and over and over, and fans are tuning out in droves. As for a 2 out of 3 Falls Championship, I really have no fucking idea why they haven't introduced it yet, because this has been, the 6th, 7th 2 out of 3 Falls match that they've done in the past few weeks. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then going to Raw in Everett. Chris and I, the Derb, we could have actually bought tickets the day of, gone there, and probably gotten upgraded down to near the front. They only had 3,500 people there, rumored. The capacity of that arena is only 10,000. Now we know we say only 10,000 people. 10,000 people, and about a third, just over a third of that thing was sold. That's not good. They need to do something, and they need to do something fast. And then the Portland show for SmackDown, there were large parts of the lower bowl curtained off. The upper bowl being curtained off, that was fine. That happened at the Key Arena Raw that myself, Derb, and our friend Cassie went to last year, the one where Elias knocked the Seattle Sonics. That was something. but the upper bowl being tarped off, okay, what curtained off, it didn't really matter because the crowd was still pretty loud and was still pretty vocal. But they need to stop 2 out of 3 Falls matches. Because I know part of the reason they could be doing it is some people are taking time off. B, they're running a small tour in Japan. So maybe that's the reason they got some people over there, and they need to utilize the others. They already aren't utilizing half their damn roster anyway, and, well, 80% of the roster well, and they aren't utilizing half of their roster much at all. They need to work on this shit. But a 2 out of 3 Falls Championship may not be that far up because they fucking put the 24/7 title there. They have too many titles as it is. Why the fuck not? I know it's a bit of a long answer, but there you go. Reviewer John 809. Was your favorite Nia Jax match? For me, it's her versus Bayley at TakeOver London. That would probably be it. That or the Alexa Bliss match of WrestleMania 34. I'm not a fan of Nia Jax, but those two stick out pretty well. Especially for Nia being pretty green at the time and now. The match she had with Bayley was fine. At TakeOver London. Sorry if I didn't answer that in much detail, but I'm not really the biggest fan of Nia Jax. But, yeah, the one against Alexa WrestleMania 34. Anything else? Her match at Money in the Bank 2018 against Ronda wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. Because mainly people weren't buying into Nia anymore. It was a very, very short-lived face turn. And then let's see. Question number 2. Is it sad seeing talented guys like Cedric and EC3 fighting for the 24/7 title? Yes. Yes, it is. It is sad. It is pathetic. It is going to... The 24/7 title, and this is not even a fault of anybody, anybody doing their best with it or not. Truth, Drake, and a couple others are doing the best they can with it. All these guys that are fighting over it, guess what? A lot of them are going to be requesting their releases or leaving when their contracts are up and going somewhere else. And WWE is going to have an ass exodus or a mass exodus, whatever you're into. And they're going to lose a lot of people. Yes, they can offer more money. They can lock people into 5-year deals. But if they're not going to do anything with them, all they're doing is throwing money on a burning pile. That's not a good business model. That's what WCW did to keep everybody away from everybody else, and it bankrupted the company. Now, yes, WWE has their big TV deals from USA that's kicked in. Their Fox deal is going to kick in at some point. They have the Saudi deal. They have other deals with advertisers and all that. They got boatloads of cash coming in. The problem is creatively, this show is so boring. The reason I still watch it is because I'm a big fan of the roster. I do review it because it gets a lot of views on the channel, and I'm also a masochist. Clearly, I must be, because at this point, the product is not the worst it's ever been, but boy, it's pretty fucking bad, and especially for this deep of a roster. But yes, it is sad to see Cedric and EC3 fighting over the 24/7 title when that title has no right to exist. It has no right to exist, and I'm sorry, it's not entertaining TV to me. To me, other people like it, and that's fine. I don't. And then question number 3, what matches are you pumped for in the G1? I'm going to reference mainly to my G1 predictions here, but Okada Tanahashi, really can't go wrong with that one. Moxley and Jay White, it's going to be pretty damn cool. Ishii and Goto, I believe, are facing off. There's an Ibushi and Kenta. There's a ton. I went over a whole bunch of them in my G1 predictions, so I'm not glossing over your question. But we would be here all goddamn day if I decide to list all those off. So those are a few. I'm really excited for the G1, and provided that, I don't suddenly just go absolutely insane as opposed to, the completely sane individual I am now, I'm going to be reviewing every single one of the G1 shows. Some reviews may be up later in the day, and some may be double reviews if I get a scheduling conflict, but I will be reviewing every single one of those. But those are a few matches I'm looking forward to in the G1. I'm really just looking forward to it in general. That field is stacked. Really fucking stacked. I still wish Hanari was in there instead of Bad Luck Fale, because I think Hanari could deliver better matches, but hopefully Hanari gets in there next year and is in every single field for the rest of his career. And number 4, your favorite WCW pay-per-view? I'd say mine is Beach Blast 92. Beach Blast 92 is a pretty good one. It has some pretty good matches. I will throw out Great American Bash 92, Bash at the Beach 94, Bash at the Beach 96, even though that one had some to it. Spring Stampede 99. Halloween Havoc 97 had a really good opening match. It was kind of messy, though. I always said Starrcade 97, except fuck's sake, it's just that Sting Hogan match. Fucking hated it. Starrcade 92, I always thought was pretty good. I always thought deserved a little more love than it got. Especially that Sting Vader match. Um, if you figuratively held something to my head and told me to pick Great American Bash '92, because it was all based around tag team matches, and also the Vader Sting match was pretty goddamn good. But even some of the ones earlier in the time, I thought Starrcade '87 was pretty good for what it was, even though like financially it wasn't all that good, because they left Greensboro to go to Chicago and gross less money. But Great American Bash '92. And then at A Freaky Dude on Twitter, 3 questions. What are your top 5 best horror movie remakes? God, that's a good question. It would have to be up at number 1. Nothing else really leaps out. I mean, because the Psycho remake was absolute ass. Suspiria, I will say that one. So it's Suspiria. God, a bunch of others really don't leap out to me. I'll say the Child's Play remake wasn't bad, or reboot, whatever it was. It wasn't bad. I guess I'll put that at number 5. I didn't mind the Friday the 13th remake, even though I didn't like how Jason could actually run like a freaking linebacker. But I'll say my top 2. I'll just say top 2 for right now because I'm kind of drawing a blank here, even though I'm a big horror movie fan. There's a bunch of stuff popping in my head. I will say It Chapter 2 and Suspiria. Everything, I mean, not The Omen, because the original Omen was a whole lot better. Remakes are really, really hard to pull off. So I'll just say top 2 for that would be It Chapter 2 and Suspiria. Second question, what do you think of the Batman Arkham series? I thought they were pretty good. I think I was never the biggest Batman video game fan, but I can see why people like them, and I certainly understand why some got more praise than others. But I was never the biggest Batman gaming fan, so what I played of them and what I've seen, I like them. I thought they were pretty good. They just aren't my cup of tea, but a lot of people like them. And third question, do you think Rollins has gone full on corporate with his tweets on Will Ospreay? Rollins is either doing this at the behest of WWE, or he's frustrated and he's taking out on the wrong goddamn people. Is this Seth Rollins' fault that the houses aren't drawing? It shouldn't be just about one person. If I'm not going to blame Roman Reigns for the continued, falling ratings, like during his time, or the falling houses when he was champion or when he was being pushed, why am I going to blame Rollins? Now, Rollins going after Will Ospreay, they could be friends. It could just be a fucking pissing contest. We could all be getting worked. I don't really fucking know. I will say that Rollins looks pretty goddamn stupid saying this, because Rollins' Twitter game is not very good. It really, really isn't. I did like how Will Ospreay mentioned about the shirt and extra small, like, hit me up in DM. It's pretty goddamn good. Harsh, low blow, literally, but pretty funny. So, yeah, he's gone full on corporate, but again, he could also be doing this at the behest of the company as a way to drum up interest. Rollins could also be super frustrated because, crowd sizes are falling, and he's just sticking up for his brand, and that's okay. But he really isn't coming across as all that great, and given some of the stuff that he's done in his past, but again, Will Ospreay, if you want to dive into some stuff that Will Ospreay has done, Will Ospreay ain't exactly a saint either. If we base it solely on wrestling ability, I will take Will Ospreay matches over Seth Rollins matches, but don't get me wrong, both are elite performers. Are there better wrestlers than Seth Rollins out there? Yes. Are there better wrestlers than Will Ospreay out there? Some. I don't know. It's a really, really hard question to answer, because it could be work, it could be Rollins getting frustrated and taking out on the wrong goddamn people. Who the fuck knows? WWE's superstars, or their wrestlers, their Twitters have really gotten out of control. I'm not exactly sure what the fucking deal is. But who knows? It's not a good look regardless, because it makes him seem petty, and makes it like, if your company's number one, why the fuck are you acknowledging anyone else? I'm not saying other companies don't exist, but what are you going to do? Cross promotion thing where you can get WWE versus New Japan, as cool as that would be, it wouldn't fucking happen. So that's what I'm going to say. So that's the end of hashtag Ask for Honesty, episode 17. Almost like questions for me. But yes, once again, leave comments below if you have other questions, or hit me up in DM on Twitter, or check the pinned tweets I put up on Tuesday morning and Thursday morning. And if I get a bunch of good questions by Friday morning, I will, Friday morning afternoon, I will do another episode, and it will be up Saturday. Otherwise, you'll get one at some point. And also, I will be doing a review of Fyter Fest later. I will not be doing a prediction show. Quite frankly, I just don't see the point. But anyway, agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.